Hey folks, I'm starting to get really frustrated and worried and depressed about what's going on in Hawaii with the current situation. Um, as most of you know, I own a tour company, and back in March, we got the order that we are going into shutdown as of 4:30 p.m. on March 23rd. Supposedly it was going to be for 15 days, 15 days to slow the spread of the virus. We had that chart with the bell curve that showed, if we didn't shut down, it would be like this, and then if we shut down, then it would be, the longer, more drawn out, but less of a peak. The idea being that if we locked down, then the virus wouldn't be spread as fast and it wouldn't overwhelm the hospitals. Um, so we locked down, which meant that also they no longer allowed tourists to fly here from other destinations. So it was kind of a good thing, being in the situation that we are in Hawaii, being an island in the middle of the Pacific, unlike the mainland U.S. where it's really easy to drive from state to state. So it was really easy for us to isolate ourselves by just like basically closing the airport. Um, and so the tourists haven't been able to come in and come and spread the virus and stuff. And so after those 15 days, then it got extended, and it's been re-extended again and again and again. I remember posting on Facebook to my customers that we would be reopening on this date, and then 2 weeks later having to go and update that again, saying that, oh no, it's been extended another month and another month and another month. So now, right now, it's been extended to October 1st. I just updated my web page yesterday from when I had posted on there that it was September 1st, which was an update from when, it was the month before that. Um, and even the governor, when he said October 1st, he said possibly longer. And I saw a live feed on Facebook today from some guy from the tourism and business development, board or something. And some of the things that he said were, oh man, really depressing. Um, there was a point where it sounded like he said that they were thinking about having a meeting sometime in November or December to decide about when they would reopen the economy. I was like, what? I mean, because right now we're thinking that maybe it'll open October 1st, maybe October 31st at the worst, but they're talking about meeting in November or December to think about when they're would allow the economy to reopen, which makes it sound like it wouldn't happen until at least January 1st. And some of the other things that he said, and it's been a lot of talk, that I've been seeing on Facebook, is about how they, everybody's talking here in Hawaii about how they want to diversify the economy away from tourism, because a lot of the people here, especially if they're not in the tourism business, are very anti-tourism because the locals, especially Native Hawaiians, um, are upset about the number of tourists that come here and then go to the beaches. And so they've been passing a lot of laws lately about restricting the places that tour companies can go. A couple of years ago, there was the law passed where they said that tour companies can no longer bring people to the beaches in Kailua, to Lanikai Beach Park, Kailua Beach Park, and Kalama Beach Park. And a couple of years later, the town adjacent to that, Waimanalo, added to the law saying that nobody can go to the beaches in Waimanalo all the way from Makapu'u Beach Park to Bellows, which is adjacent to Lanikai, Kailua, and Kalama, all the way to Castle Point. So from Makapu'u Beach all the way to Castle Point, that's a 10 mile stretch of the east shoreline where tour companies are not allowed to stop. And then the North Shore was talking about, they were trying to get the law passed for up there too, from Sunset Beach all the way to Haleiwa, and that was going to be an 8 mile stretch of the North Shore that would have been off limits to tour companies even stopping at the beaches. And so, the more they restrict us, we're not allowed to go to state parks and certain places, and it's like they keep restricting it, so there's less and less places for us to go, and so the places that we are allowed to go, they notice that, oh, it's crowded. Well, yeah, it's crowded because we're not allowed to be spread out, because you keep saying you can't go here, you can't go here, and you can't go here, so we can only go here. So yeah, of course, that place is going to be crowded. But anyway, there's this anti-tourism sentiment here. There are times when we're driving on the North Shore in our tour vans, and as we go around the kind of horseshoe bend around Waimea Bay, sometimes you'll want to slow down, like maybe 5 miles an hour under the speed limit, to allow the tourist to be able to look out the windows and take pictures and stuff as you drive by. And then eventually, once you get to the end of that horseshoe, you top the hill and you start coming down, you're right back, caught back up with traffic anyway that's, backed up for the next mile. And so the fact that you slowed down 5 miles an hour under the speed limit doesn't even matter, because now you're right back up with the car that was in front of you anyway. But there are people behind you that are honking at you, and then they do that, where they pass you and then they cut in like they're almost going to hit you, just to show that they're upset that you slowed down 5 miles an hour. That's happened to me multiple times. And sometimes, there are like small kids in the van, and I have to slam on my brakes or something, and they're like flipping you off, as they're going by with tourists in the van that have come to Hawaii. And so there's this anti-tourism sentiment here. Tourism is the #1 economy in Hawaii. So, there's a lot of people that work at these hotels. There's a lot of tour companies, and there are people who work at these tour companies. There's people that work at the hotels and the restaurants that the tourists go to. And so the big push right now, all the locals and all of the politicians are talking about how they want to diversify the economy away from tourism. And the thing that everybody is talking about diversifying the economy to is agriculture. Okay, so yeah, back in the day, we had agriculture, we had pineapple and sugarcane. And, there was the Dole Cannery, where they would, can the pineapples and ship them off. And the sugar, they had the sugar refineries, and then we would sell the sugar. But the type of agriculture that they're talking about, they're talking about doing agriculture in order to sustain the local population. They're talking about how they want to be self-reliant and not have to worry about the food being shipped here, not having to worry about, like, if we get hit by a hurricane or anything, about waiting for the supplies to come here. Well, that has not been a problem, ever. There's, the ships still come. That was even something that they were pointing out, at the beginning of the shutdown, when it started to go on for a month or two. that they would say, hey, look, our shipping industry is fine. The ships are still coming into port. They're still delivering goods. And so that's never been a problem. But the scary thing is that, everybody's talking about diversifying to agriculture in order to be self-reliant. But the thing is nobody's talking about doing agriculture or anything else that they're talking about diversifying to that would bring money into Hawaii from the outside, like tourism does. I mean, the guy today, quoted the figures, and then there's also a video that I've seen recently by Glenn Wakai, politician, talking about the amount of money that tourism brings into the Hawaii economy. I think Glenn said that it was $17 billion a day, and the guy today was talking about that there's, on average, I think he said 250,000 visitors a day that spend, I think he said $500 million a day in the local economy at the restaurants and hotels. And he even pointed out that, I don't think he made the point strongly enough, but he said that the people come to Hawaii, and when they eat, they want the things that are grown in Hawaii. They want the pineapple ice cream, chocolate. We grow cacao here to make chocolate, and that when they're here, that's they want to experience those things, and so they want to buy those products. So if we diversify away from tourism, then it's the tourists that are paying to buy these local ag products. And so, but anyway, the point I'm trying to get to is that if we do diversify to agriculture, but just for self-reliance, then unless you grow an excess that you plan on shipping out in order to sell outside of outside of Hawaii and the United States, then you're not going to be bringing money into Hawaii. So, I mean, if you're just growing food in order to sell to locals at farmers markets and stuff like that, then you have a closed system. Your economy is based just on your local area, and eventually the money is going to evaporate. I mean, yeah, you may grow a food product that you sell to another local, he gives you money, but where did he get his money? So the money is just going to keep going around. And eventually that money is going to evaporate due to overhead and taxes. So it's like you're going to have a closed system. You have a certain amount of money with nothing coming in from the outside. And as the money goes around and around, a little bit gets taken out for overhead, a little bit gets taken out for taxes. Eventually you're going to run out of money. You need something to bring money in from the outside. So you need to export something. I mean, if you don't have the tourists that are coming here and leaving their money behind in Hawaii, which they gladly do, then the money's going to evaporate and the economy is going to crash, and we're going to go into we're going to have a lot of people leaving Hawaii for sure. I mean, because the cost is already high here anyway, and so people are going to be moving to the mainland where a house is 5 times cheaper and stuff. But anyway, the point is, the things that they're talking about doing, moving away from tourism, but to ag. Everything else that they have a sentiment here too that they're against anything new. Anytime anybody tries to do anything new here, they protest against it. The super ferry, which was a ferry system that would be able to transport cars. You could drive onto the ferry with your car, and you could go to Maui, the Big Island, and Kauai. And they protested against that until they ran it out of town. When they built the H3 freeway, they protested against that. They protested against the 30-meter telescope on the Big Island, which was going to be bringing millions into the local economy. As a matter of fact, they had, even before they started building the telescope, they had the Think Fund, which was giving $1 million a year to the local schools for their STEM programs to promote science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, so that there would be a flow of students that would be learning these things that they could then use that in order to get jobs at this telescope and similar things, or just to better them in order to be able to do those kinds of things. The geothermal plant on the Big Island, everybody's against that. The windmills, they've been protesting against the windmills, solar farms, the spaceport. They wanted to, on the Big Island, like by South Point or something, put a spaceport in where they could launch satellites, because the best place to launch satellites is from a place that's close to the equator, and that part of the Big Island is like between 19 and 20 degrees from the equator, so it'd be a great spot to launch satellites from. And that's high tech. Would bring jobs and money into the Hawaii economy. But the people here, they're against anything new, and so they're not talking about creating any new industry where you're creating something that you're going to sell to somebody outside of Hawaii that would bring money into Hawaii. All they're talking about is going to agriculture. And so you're going to be growing food that you're going to be using for self-reliance, but they're not talking about exporting any of that food. They're talking about doing it like small scales, like family farms and stuff like that. But moving away from tourism into agriculture. That's all they're talking about right now. And I'm a small tour company. I have 4 tour vans that we're using. I have a 5th one. We just use it for storage right now. But when we did the shutdown in March, I had to lay off 7 employees. The phone girl that takes the reservations, and the rest were drivers that I had to lay off, and they're all still waiting, looking forward to coming back to work. We just keep putting it off a month at a time, and so I'm just one small tour company, and there are lots of others that are like me that are small tour companies that have maybe 2 vans. And then there's the big companies like Roberts Hawaii, where they have the big 60-passenger buses, and they're big companies. And then there's all the hotels that are shut down. All of the people that work at the hotels, the maids that clean the rooms. There's a lot of people that have lost their jobs right now since March 23rd. What is today? The 24th of August, and we're going to be shut down for the entire month of September, all the way until October 1st, and possibly another month after that. Even the money that we were getting to help is running out. My unemployment payments, now that we're not getting the federal money anymore, the past 3-week claims that I've done has been without that boost from the Fed, and so I'm only getting, without that $600 boost, I'm only getting like $100 a week now for unemployment. So I've got enough money to last me 2 more months, and after that I'm going to be broke. And actually in debt. I'll be $200,000 in debt. Because the relief money that I got, I used to pay off the debt that I had and to fix up my vans, so that they're ready to go once we open up. So I've had the tires, the brakes, oil change, you know, uh, I've had them professionally cleaned, and they're 100% ready to go right now if we were to open up. And now, you know, I'm in debt, and I have no money coming in, but I still have the same overhead. I have to pay parking for the vans, the insurance on the vans. You know, it's commercial insurance, which is expensive. You have to have commercial insurance for the vehicles, and there's two kinds of insurance that you have to have for a tour company. The commercial insurance for the vans and the commercial insurance for the business, and because you also have to cover the other companies like Expedia and Pleasant Holidays that are sending you business, so that, you know, if something were to happen, then they're covered as well. Same thing goes with the permits that you have to get for the airport, the harbor, the parks. You have to add them on as and additionally insured, so that if something happens, you know, they can't sue the city or the state. So the commercial insurance is expensive, and you know, that's part of my overhead that I still have to pay, even though we've been shut down since March. I still have to pay. I still have to make those payments every month, and plus the vehicle payments. So, you know, all of my overhead is still there that I still have to pay while we're shut down with no income. But anyway, the point of this was that I'm really worried about the direction that we're headed. It's not going to be good.